Thank you for having me, and it's great that we've been hearing so much about hybrid work because I will exactly um, start right there. So with COVID, we did learn that we can be productive working remotely, and companies are now moving into this hybrid, as all of the previous speakers have touched on. We're moving into this hybrid models, so companies are moving into hybrid models. This is obviously a great way to save a lot of money in office space. But the question to me is, we proved that we can operate remotely, but how good are we at innovating remotely? Maybe we can start with a definition. So innovation can range from incremental to disruptive innovation. And the key question here is, what are the ideal environments that foster each of those types of innovation? Contrary to a common belief, agile in a lot of scenarios can actually hinder innovation. For example, so when you have a lot of agile daily stand-ups, you create this sense that people need to deliver. So you create this sense of deadlines that people need to keep up with, and so you're actually not allowing people to explore ideas, which, if you're looking to do disruptive innovation, actually is not the best approach. However, if you're looking to do incremental innovation and you want to improve an existing product or service, agile is a great way to do this. So the key point here is companies need to be intentional about what they're doing, so that they create the right opportunities for innovation depending on what the objective is. So what about offices? For tech companies, offices have always been central for innovation. For Google, for example, the whole concept of the water, meeting people, bumping into people in the water cooler, or you turn to someone sitting next to you and you say, hey, I have this idea, and you start talking to them about it. This is what promotes innovation in their philosophy. And this should happen naturally and all of the time. In fact, big tech companies are continuing to expand office space. They're not reducing office space because they truly believe the importance of the office and the ecosystem that grows around the office. So Google is piloting this hybrid model in September, and one of the messages is, even though there will be more remote work, one of the messages is that offices in the future for the company are as important as they were in the past. And then you have, on the other side of the spectrum, you have companies like Spotify. Spotify is allowing all employees to work from anywhere, essentially, because they believe that this way they are able to access a bigger talent pool, so they can access a true global workforce. And this brings more diversity. And because innovation happens when someone sees something that no one else has seen before, diversity is very, very important for innovation. So I guess the question is, will this new global workforce and more diversity actually be good news for innovation, or will the lack of physical encounters in the office prevent innovation opportunities? It's not very clear, but in any case, there is a big difference between organized moments of innovation and organic encounters. So companies need to be creative and be intentional again about finding opportunities for innovation, and that can be both virtually and also in the office, in the fewer occasions that people actually go into the office in the future. Um, Something else that companies need to do is they need to be people-centric in order to be innovative. Starting to think about introverts versus extroverts. So the traditional office space was mostly built for extroverts that thrive around others, around people, around busy environments. I'm one of those. I miss the office. But in some cases, if people might be introverts, and actually all of that noise is not helping them to be more creative or more innovative. Steve Jobs proposed a solution where, so he believed that the best environment for innovation would be to have individual individual offices where people could take time to focus, to do focus work, combined with spaces for community where people could bump into each other and talk and have discussions with each other. He really believed that that people needed focus time as much as they needed time with others in order to foster this innovation culture and an office space, let's say. So the key question to me, and I started thinking about this, is how can we foster this this environment when all the time that we have with others starts being scheduled? So you start missing out on this on these organic encounters and all of this. One thing that is quite crucial for innovation is the ability to disagree with someone. So when you're able to disagree and build on others' ideas, this is super important for innovation. And for that, you need to establish relationships with people. And so, yeah, so socializing and networking is completely fundamental for innovation. And one thing that changed, so before COVID, when you joined a company, you would have your first day in the office, you would get your laptop, see how people behave, see how people dress, see the colors of the world, and go for lunch with your team. And all of this is part of a ritual, let's say, to welcome you to the company culture and to welcome you to the company. So when people started joining virtually and they're essentially sitting in the same place they were before, it was much easier to feel disconnected. It was much easier to feel like they didn't belong in the company. And I heard some examples of people that actually preferred to go back to the previous company that they were in because they just didn't feel like they belonged in the new company. So when you think about the office, you might actually be more comfortable walking up to someone and saying, "What do you think about this?" or "How do you do this?" And this is a natural way to do mentoring, which is so important when you join a company, but also this sparks creativity, right? However, and thinking about it a bit further, some people might actually be more relaxed or more might prefer to meet people virtually. So some younger people, then someone talked about the younger generation before, some younger people actually prefer this virtual socialization. So regardless of what your preferred approach is, companies need to be creative and find opportunities for socializing and networking, both in the office when it's possible, but also virtually. So how can companies do this? Technology is a way to start. Obviously, you could start with chatbots that connect people with each other that haven't met before, based on interests or just at random. So you start building that random relationships with people, but also virtual environments. So VR, virtual workspaces or avatars are a nice way for people to change context because we spend most of our time in video conferencing calls. So it's a nice way to change context, but also it's something else that I think it's quite interesting about this environments is that when they mimic the physical experience in a way. So when you are in a physical room, you can have several conversations happening at the same time. And when you're in a video conferencing call like we're in, when someone is speaking, everyone else is listening. So I think this virtual environments really can mimic that spatial experience per se, and that's something that I find very interesting to explore. Something else that needs to be considered is innovation workshops. So as it was mentioned on my introduction, I used to run innovation workshops when we were in the office. So we would bring people into our innovation space with lots of sticky notes and run a design thinking session together for a full day. And obviously, when the pandemic started, we had to adapt. So we started using Mural, which is a great tool for this, but it's still different, right? So the experience is different. So a lot changes when you're in a room. You can approach people. You can get emotional cues. You can see how the session is going for people in the room. You can see if you need to approach someone individually to support them a bit more, and you can pace the session accordingly. So there's a lot more emotional cues when you're in a physical room. When you're in a virtual workshop, what happens is sometimes people don't have their cameras on. I have no idea if they're engaged, or they might be distracted with I don't know, notifications, emails, or something else. Yeah, that becomes harder to engage your audience. In any case, so what you have to do is essentially you need to make the workshops shorter. And on a positive side, one thing that is really good with the remote workshops is that I started organizing workshops with people based in the UK and based in India at the same time, which was very, very difficult in the past because obviously we couldn't fly people over all the time for a one-day workshop, right? So in a way, it kind of leveled the playing field, but you still miss out on some of those more casual, let's say you have a coffee break and you go outside and you continue to talk with people and all of that. You miss out on that. And as my previous speakers said, we will move into a more hybrid scenario. So I think ideally you either want everyone in the room or you don't want anyone in the room, but I don't think that will be the most likely scenario. I think most likely we will have more and more hybrid workshops and situations where some people will be in the room and some people will join virtually. And obviously this brings new challenges both for the facilitator, but also for the participants. So essentially, the facilitator needs now to worry not only that they're engaging the people in the room, but also the people virtually, and they need to make sure that they're not giving more attention to one versus the other, and they need to balance and pace the session in a way that both groups are still engaged. So so this means that new digital facilitation skills are very, very important. So it'll be interesting to see when we start going back how all of this will start happening. And to finish off, we don't really know the full impact that hybrid work will have in innovation, right? So what will happen in hybrid environments is that people go into hybrid models, is it that people will start going to the office just to meet people that they have meetings with? And if that's the case, essentially you're still missing out on the spontaneous encounter. So you're missing out on those organic conversations that are so important for innovation. So as companies plan this return to work, it is essential that they become intentional about creating this type of opportunities, and that is virtually and in office when that's the case. And that's from the way offices are designed to the digital tools that employees have, but also it's about behaviors. So upskilling employees into this digital facilitation, digital collaboration, so that people are able to innovate remotely. And then leaders need to promote accountability and the synchronous decision making, so that they're giving people time to think about their decisions, but also letting them make the decisions without having to spend too much time convincing everyone else. And this is important because people have more ideas when they feel empowered. So when you're limiting people's autonomy, you're actually hurting their self-esteem and confidence, and this hinders innovation. And something that I wanted to mention as well is the fact that this socializing and networking opportunities are not only important for well-being and happiness of employees, but also for innovation. So to keep innovating, companies need to think about socializing as much as they think about productivity, as we usually name it. And yeah, that's it. Let me know if you have any questions.